Pick, bet, and cheer on Woodbine and Mohawk racetracks. Thoroughbred and harness action. The wagers are just the beginning. Watch award-winning broadcasts covering both breeds. Incredible battles contested over the most unique grass course in North America. Experience the full fields and over 220 live harness days. Get access to free handicapping material and join the ranks of Woodbine and Mohawk players from all over the globe. For more information, visit woodbineentertainment.com.
Nyquist to catch with a 16th to go. Gunrunner, Exaggerator on the outside. Nyquist and Exaggerator, they're coming to the line together. And Nyquist is still unbeaten. He has won the Kentucky Derby.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Wednesday morning as we wrap up May and head into June tomorrow. Weather a little unsettled as it were, but it's got to turn. This bodes well for summer, I think. A lot of rainy spring, so maybe a nice dry, sunny summer is what we have in store. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Great holiday weekend with some nice racing across the country and racing up north about a month from now with the Queen's Plate. We'd like to thank our friends at Woodbine for their sponsorship. Woodbine, pick, bet, and cheer on world-class horse racing north of the border. And we have Jeremy Plonk on to talk three-year-olds a little bit later. And we will hit on some of that Woodbine racing because part of his countdown to the Crown package now for the past 2 or 3 weeks has been countdown to the plate. So he's had some Queen's Plate comments, and we'll talk a little Canadian Oaks as well, Woodbine Oaks. Because over the weekend there was a couple of prep races, Queen's Plate and Oaks prep races up at Woodbine. So we'll hit on those with Jeremy a little bit later. A little bit after that, Nancy Holthus from Indiana Grand. She'll join us and give us some ideas for Indiana Grand, which is pretty much I'll say the main track. I was going to say the only track, but it's the main track going today. It's a little devoid of major racing on this Wednesday after the holiday weekend with a lot of the big venues running on Monday. But Indiana always has some nice racing. So again, we'll talk to Nancy in a moment, in a little while. And they had two nice stakes a week ago, a nice midweek stakes last Wednesday. We'll recap those with Nancy as well. But as always on a Wednesday, top of the show, we like to welcome our friend Shannon Donovan from the marketing department here at Capital OTB. Good morning, Shannon.
Seth, how are you? And I believe our highlighted feature tracks today are Thistledown and Indiana. They get to front and center, which is very good for them.
I mean,
because they very seldom do they get that isolated picture, but that's the way it falls because of the holiday on Monday. And we had, ample tracks running on Monday, and then this always happens a few days after the holiday period. So.
Yeah, it's quiet. There's no question about it.
Let's hope this rain. Let's hope this rain gets past us, and then we have a dry Saratoga. That's the way I always look at it. If we have a wet spring, hopefully it's gonna be a dry summer.
That's
that
what
means
I say. Hopefully,
all going forward for Saratoga.
Nice sunny, very few races off the turf once we get up the road to Saratoga. That's fingers crossed. In the meantime, of course, we have Belmont Stakes coming up, and what we're looking at. A little over a week away now, about a week and a half away, so we're looking forward to that. It looks like no Derby winner, no Preakness winner, but I think it's going to be a nice, full, competitive field. And I think, I've said it last week a bunch of times, I think it bodes well for Saratoga there because I think you get to the end of the summer and they'll want to sort out that three-year-old class, and the Travers might be the place where they do it.
Nobody's shying away from each other, which is very good. I mean, the more the better.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always the debate in horse racing area. You're better off having that one stellar, one shining star, that one possible Triple Crown horse, and then everyone else. We go into Belmont, we've seen that happen. 7-horse field, 6-horse field. But now we're looking at possible full field.
Yeah, it's and I think it's going to be the highlight of a good day of racing down there. Really
great
good
day of
weekend.
betting.
Yeah,
I mean,
the card down there will be
For a
phenomenal.
horse bettor looking to go deep and get the trifectas, the supers, it's going to be amazing. I
Yeah.
mean, what some of the horses are going to be going off at. I mean, obviously, Classic Empire will be the horse. After that, chips can fall wherever they may.
Yeah, and the question on Classic Empire is a couple of ding-dong races. Will he come back and be able to fire another good shot in the Belmont? If not, that opens it up for some of the other horses in the mix. I think it's going to be a great race. We'll
Did
talk
you see
certainly.
Javier Castellano and Johnny Velasquez last night?
First
throwing
pitch?
That first pitch at the Mets game.
I have
And Javier had a full wind-up and everything. He looked really good.
the video was out on, I think it was Naira's Twitter feed, but whatever. If you go to Equidaily, it's up near the top of the page, the video that was sent out on Twitter last night, so you can watch, Velasquez and Castellano, the ceremonial first pitch at the Mets game. And they were good luck charms.
They were very good, yeah. They bring them out more.
Mets came out with the win last night, so congratulations to the two jockeys for tossing it out. And it's got to be nerve-wracking when you talk to the people who do it. You're out there in front of a whole stadium of people. You don't want to be bouncing it in.
I'd be down in the bullpen warming up for about 15 minutes.
Every once in a while, some celebrity gets up there and bounces one in, and or throws it over the guy's head.
Yeah, they were just side of the mound, probably about 45 feet.
So again, congratulations to them. We're in the countdown period to the Belmont Stakes, so a lot of promotional things going on in that way. And speaking of promotions and events, Capital OTB. Only a day left for Bet 50, Get 50. Yeah. I mean, you could sign up today and bet your 50 in, I suppose, but probably you'll want to wait for the June.
Yeah, go ahead and wait for June. One day we turn the corner and then we start the new threshold with our standard procedure promotional that we do. 50-50. Once you bet the 50, you're going to get the 50 the next business day, and just take advantage of all the perks and privileges you have. Once you are a Cabot Bet account holder, you can then participate in all of our bankrolls, our contests, promotions that we have online, the account wagering platform, all the different betting options that you have, past performances. There's just a lot more bells and whistles. And then you also go mobile on your iPhone or your Android, and then you got m.capitalotbbet.com. Log in your account and place the bet from wherever you are. So that's the advantage of having that account once you get that 50.
And if you have the mobile app, we don't mention this often, but you can watch the morning program via your mobile device.
Yeah, now the OTB TV is streaming all the time right on your mobile. So once you log in with the account, you got OTB TV right in the palm of your hand.
Coming up this week, Friday, our friends out at Delmar, the Delmar branch, we tip our caps to them with a Fan Appreciation Day.
Yeah, we want to thank you all to the horse racing fans that we have out in that area. First 50 in the door get a voucher program. There's a contest, giveaway items, and then along with the match bet, and then also be some complimentary food and beverages.
Also coming up later this week here at the Clubhouse Racebook, I want to hear about this, the Exacta Board promotion.
Yeah, it's a little different that we're doing here this Sunday. We're going to kick it off. This is the first time we're doing it. Very similar to what we've done during the football season and also during the NCAA. You're using the square grid that you use for squares. You got 100 squares in there. Obviously, we're going to divvy up the different numbers based on the races that we're going to segment. But those races are going to be designated. You come in the door, you get your name on the board, and then you get random numbers. If those numbers hit, each time on an Exacta, you get a $5 bet voucher.
I like it, and that's coming up.
You can win multiple times. So if you got the 2-5 and the 2-5's lucky all day, you're a winner.
Better.
We're also going to do the reverse on the number as well.
Very good. And again, that comes up on Sunday here at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. We'll give a heads up on some of the things coming up next week. Again, this is a mark your calendar kind of thing, but the Bounty Bet returns next Friday. Is that the mandatory, or is this is okay?
Next
so
Friday is
a week away.
It's a big week. It's
couple of
Belmont
days.
Stakes week, so that's
Nice.
what we wanted to do. If we got to this point, this was our goal, and it's mandatory payout, which means all winners get an equal share of the $1,944 that's in the Bounty Bet.
Nice.
So remember, that's going to be the late pick 4 on that Friday, Belmont Stakes. You must wager through your account.
Which is a nice little stakes card as well. Not as Stakes Laden is the next day, but it's usually a nice card on Friday. So again, that's a week away, a week and 9 days away. But keep that in mind, mandatory on that bounty.
So that's a nice bonus to you if you hit the pick four.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, people have participated in this promotion. It's been a huge advantage for them. They got some nice additional bonus money. Obviously, we were hoping to have that one single account take it down, but now that we get to this point, pay it all out, and then we'll start fresh at the end of the month and then kick it off through the rest of the summer.
Also want to mention next Friday we have the bankroll returns, but we're doing a new twist on the bankroll.
A little different. We're going to take a little break from what we've been doing throughout the whole year here at the Clubhouse Racebook. It's all going to be driven through social media. It's going to be on Facebook and what we call Facebook Live. It'll be yourself handling the bankroll here in the studio, but on Facebook Live. And just so if you're not a follower of us, sign up to be a follower of us on Facebook. And then we'll do live cut-ins throughout the whole afternoon. You got $250 to play with on the bankroll. You'll be playing Belmont and Woodbine, sponsored by Woodbine. And then 20 patrons will be randomly chosen from sign-ups from online. Once you're signed up, and if you're one of the winners of the 20 account holders, remember you must wager on that day on Woodbine. So be on the lookout for that all next week. And like I said, that's going to be on Facebook Live.
And again, that's something new, but coming up next week, we will continue to push that and alert you to it as we get closer to that event a week from Friday. A week from Saturday, we just want to remind people it's Belmont Stakes Day, but that's going to offer some specials here at the Clubhouse Racebook, including the complimentary Belmont Stakes glass for the first 300.
First 300, they'll get the complimentary glass, yep, and then we'll have some other things happening throughout the day. So just keep that in mind. And then just remember, there's an early post on Belmont Stakes Day. It's 11:35, and then the Belmont Stakes, the big race, is I believe race 11, 6:37. So they're doing 13 races on Saturday, 11 on Friday. Early post both days, long cards both days, and full fields. And obviously Saturday is stacked with 9 stakes races with the Belmont Stakes.
Plenty of opportunities to win some money on the Belmont Stakes Day, and we just also want to add in. Again, these are mark your calendar kind of things, but Belmont Stakes Day, speaking of social media, the Twitter Stakes Triple Contest.
Yeah, it's a little game that we're going to have similar to what we did for the Derby. Now we're going to pick, it's going to be races 9, 10, 11 at Belmont, and it's going to be, you got to pick the winner of each of the 3. It's going to be through a pinned tweet on our Twitter account. So once again, if you're not a follower of us, sign up to be a follower of us on Twitter. Be a pinned tweet there with a link to that contest. You just fill out your name, email, and your account number. Put in your selections of who the 3 winners are. If you hit all 3, then we'll pay out up to 3 winners. $100 goes right into your account. If we have more than 3 winners, we'll just do a random draw. So the maximum is going to be 3 winners. $100 each goes right into your account.
Very good, and all of that's coming up here at Capital OTB branches online here at the Clubhouse Racebook. And a couple of nice days, obviously Kentucky Derby Day and Preakness Day. I'm assuming we expect a nice day, Belmont Stakes Day as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is all hats off for New York. This is New York's big shining days right here. You know, obviously they've stacked the deck on Belmont Stakes Day. It's almost like a Breeders' Cup type day for New York. So you get the Met Mile, a bunch of other stakes races as well. So make your plans where you want to be. If you want to be here at the Clubhouse Racebook, call up front to make a reservation at 446-4010. If not here, just remember we got ample other branches, easy bet locations, or open up that account online and you'll be set to go all day for Belmont Stakes.
You know, speaking of mark your calendar kind of thing, I think we mentioned it a few weeks ago, but it's worth mentioning again so people do kind of mark their calendars and have it in mind as Saratoga gets closer. We are again doing a PDJF charity event here at the Clubhouse Racebook. It's the Wednesday before opening day, correct? Yes. And it's going to be a nice event. If people want to come and get autographs and whatnot, plenty of opportunities.
Plenty of opportunities, yeah. This is our second annual that we're going to do. We're very happy to do it. It's going to be on Wednesday, July 19th. It'll be 5:30 to 8:30. Right now, Javier Castellano, Johnny Velazquez have committed to it. We'll have about 3-4 other jockeys right on board with them. Hopefully Angel Cordero as well. He was here before. We'll have Terry Finley, Tom Bellhouse, Larry Colmas, Abigail Atzett right on the bar. We're hoping possibly Todd Pletcher or Chad Brown, also as guest bartenders. There'll be no donations at the door, donations at the bar, and then along with signed autographs with the jockeys.
Yeah, and so again, that's a mark your calendar kind of thing. The Wednesday before opening day up at Saratoga here at the Clubhouse Racebook, but keep it in mind because it'll be a nice event. And if you, as I say, if you want to get some autographs, this will be the place to do it on that Wednesday, and it's for a good cause.
Those
as well.
guys, and they were terrific the last time we did this 2 years ago.
It's a good cause. It benefits them, and so
and everybody had a very good time with it. It was in order to get that up close and real with the jockeys and have some friendly, one-on-one time with them and get the autographs. I mean, they really enjoyed it the whole night, and so. Just be on the lookout for that, and we'll have some more
usually go through
details
Terry
come.
Meeks with the Jockeys Guild, and a lot of cooperation there. Obviously, it benefits the PDJF, so it makes sense that they want to do it, but they're very cooperative. We get a good response.
Yeah, they're very supportive for us on that, yeah.
All right, Shannon, again, people can catch up with the promos and events via the website.
All the details are on the website at capitalotb.com.
Sounds good, Shannon. Thanks for visiting. We'll talk again next Wednesday.
Thank you, Seth.
All right, we'll head to a break. When we come back, Jeremy Plonk, we'll talk some 3-year-old action from the weekend. There were a couple of 3-year-old turf stakes of note. Also, as I say, we're getting closer to the Queen's Plate, and horseplayernow.com, part of the Countdown to the Crown package on Fridays for the past few weeks has been Countdown to the Plate. So we'll talk a little Queen's Plate as well, and get some early thoughts on the Belmont Stakes. A little bit later, Nancy Holthus from Indiana Grand. All of that right after this. Stay tuned.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Championship horse racing continues at Capital OTB. There's no better place to watch, wager, and win than OTB TV and CapitalOTBBet.com.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. CapitalOTB.com offers live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, and a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform. And best of all, you get track prices. Going on now, it's Bet 50, Get 50. Simply open a Capital Bets account, bet $50, and get $50 cash back. CapitalOTB.com. Log on today.
With 10 races totaling more than $7 million, it's one of the richest days in horse racing. It's Belmont Stakes Day, and you don't want to miss a minute of the action. And with Capital OTB, you don't have to. With more than 60 easy bet and branch locations throughout upstate New York, the Clubhouse Racebook in Albany, and online wagering at CapitalOTBBet.com, you'll find everything you need to make Belmont Stakes Day your day. So watch, wager, and win at Capital OTB.
With more than 60 easy bet and branch locations throughout the region, you're just a short drive from all the top tracks across the country and around the world. For a complete list of all easy bet and branch locations, visit CapitalOTB.com. Capital OTB. We're closer than you think.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Wednesday morning. That means a visit from Jeremy Plonk, horseplayernow.com, where you can find the Countdown to the Crown package every Friday. Tuesdays, it's night school and much, much more. Good morning, Jeremy.
Good morning, Seth. This is almost like a week off, you know. There's no Triple Crown race coming up, the calm before the storm. Unfortunately, we don't have a Triple Crown on the line at Belmont that gets geeked up for, but an awfully good betting race coming up in 2 weeks.
Do you kind of agree with my thoughts, though, that this may line up well for Saratoga? Because I would think as we get through 3 separate winners of the Triple Crown races, I would think they want to sort things out by the time summer winds up, and so the Travers may be the showdown.
Yeah, and you never know when Bob Baffert's got another Arrowgate in the wagon, you know? I mean, one of these late-blooming 3-year-old types that could certainly step up in a year like this and be heard from later in the season. They're out there. You know, they may not be as good as Arrowgate, but the next force who's going to make that pivot for the second half of the year is out there. We're still looking for him, but we'll see. But Saratoga would be the natural place they're going to show up. Saratoga, the Travers, the Pennsylvania Derby is picking up a lot of steam, you know, in late September at Parks. Those two places will be probably where a 3-year-old title could be decided.
Yeah, you would think so. So it'll all come down to the end of summer, and we'll see how it plays out. But in the meantime, Belmont Stakes, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a few. Before we do, I mentioned Tuesday nights, night school via horseplayernow.com, and last night, jockey discussion?
Yeah, we brought some jockeys in, both past and present, because this weekend is the permanently disabled jockey fund fundraiser called Jockeys and Jeans. You can go to jockeysandjeans.com to learn more about that. 17 Hall of Fame riders all coming to Parks to raise money on Saturday for fallen riders. More than $250,000 will be raised on Saturday through silent auctions, autograph sessions, a luncheon with the Hall of Fame riders. I was honored to be asked to be the MC of the event, so I'm making all my notes on all these Hall of Fame jockeys that I'm going to get to introduce and talk to and interview on Saturday, and thought, why not promote it in night school and talk about some jockey angles and go down memory lane. Last night we had the one and only Pat Day on. We had also John Rott, Hall of Fame rider of some of the great horses of all time, and Trevor McCarthy from the Mid-Atlantic, who's recovering from an injury right now to his pinky and to his shoulder on the men, but was generous enough to join us last night and talk about the modern riders in the game. So we were able to talk handicapping angles, a lot of history with those two. And if you're a fan of Easy Goer and Sunday Silence, as I guess most of your fans out there are, Seth, Pat Day had some interesting stuff to say about Sunday Silence and Easy Goer. Check out the archive of that.
Nice. Again, horseplayernow.com. The archive's always available for the Tuesday night schools, or visit live. And if folks want to visit live next Tuesday, obviously in the lead up to the Belmont Stakes conversation next Tuesday night.
Yes, Tuesday night, 8:30. And if you don't catch it live, the archive will be up all next week for your handicapping as you get closer to race time for that big, huge card on Saturday at Belmont next week.
Looking forward to it, obviously. And let's jump in and talk some 3-year-old action. And 3-year-old action at Belmont for the weekend. But we're going to kick things off on the grass. I talk a lot about this 3-year-old on turf subdivision. I like it. This is a little bit different in that it was 7 furlongs, which on the grass I would kind of characterize as an elongated sprint, because the grass sprints seem to really be 5.5 furlongs has become the favorite. But the 7 furlongs down at Belmont in the Paradise Creek, $100,000 up for grabs again for 3-year-olds. I handicapped the race, and Big Handsome, it looked like it went through that one for Tony Dutrow, a horse that moved to the grass and clearly appreciated it in the prior 2 starts, but those were 5 and 6 furlongs. So the distance was going to be a question mark, but handled it pretty nicely. Big Handsome is the number 8 horse here. I thought Small Bear, the number 5 horse from Gary Siaka and Bill Parcells, might be interesting underneath. And at 14-1, he was interesting, but only good enough for third. Running second was the number 4 Kitten's Cat, but a well-beaten second. Big Handsome for Tony Dutrow. Again, 3 for 3 since moving to the turf. But in this 3-year-old turf subdivision, the question mark obviously is going to be the distance. His 3 wins have all been in sprints.
Yeah, and he's bred the sprint, Seth. You know, he's by Street Boss out of a Forest Wildcat mare. I mean, that's sprint top and bottom. And 7 furlongs might just kind of be an optimum trip. There's not a lot of 7 furlong places where you could run on the turf and it'd be 1/3, of course. Belmont's expanse, of course, one of those places where it can happen. So, you know, does he shorten back and become a 5.5 and 6 furlong kind of turf sprinter, even from 5/8 turf races throughout the Mid-Atlantic for the sprinters on the grass? He's kind of a tweener in that regard. They're going to have a hard time, I think, stretching him out, but he's got a lot of talent. And, you know, as many of these kind of races that he can pack out. Because one good thing about this is he got 7/8 just fine. And there's a lot of money to be made for turf milers out there. And there are quite a few places now where you can run a mile on turf around 1 turn. So a turf mile around one turn might be still within his grasp, and that might be where the most money is for Big Handsome to try to stretch out and find. Maybe those are kind of the best places for him looking forward, but definitely a talented horse. One thing about Tony Dutcher, we know this over the years, he's not going to overspot a horse. He is one of the most realistic horsemen I've ever seen. If he's got one who is getting a little bit of hype and he doesn't think he can really do a lot with him, he'll put him on the sales block, and that horse will be on the market, and he'll sell high. And maybe even with a horse like Big Handsome coming off a nice big win like this, Tony may look and say, we're not going to make real money with a horse like this, who's kind of a turf sprinter, but a 3-year-old, in between distance, maybe not 2 turns. Maybe he sells high. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody with some cash comes in and tries to scoop this one up off of him. And Tony's been one to oblige on that in the past over the years.
And he is a Team D horse, so Tony has the say. And you make a great point. There are opportunities going a mile on the turf, and that may be the game plan for him, given how he did at the 7. We'll see what they look at next for Big Handsome. But boy, certainly has been impressive in the first 3 starts on the turf. Now we get to
and the Breeders' Cup this year too. I mean, we're back to Southern California, right? So I mean, you're only going a short trip at Del Mar this year. So can you even shorten this horse up to 5 at Del Mar on that fast turf course? I don't even know if that's a realistic goal. So I think, like we said, those miles might be the right way to go.
Yeah, and again, it's a little bit of a quirky situation as compared to the overall 3-year-old turf subdivision, but we're in a more logical spot this past weekend out at Arlington in the Arlington Classic, leading into the Secretariat, presumably a little bit later on. But the Saturday race was a grade 3 for $100,000, going a mile and a 16th on the turf. I said it last week when I talked about this race a little bit. This wasn't I think the division is fun this year. I don't think this was the strongest group. But coming out, I think the winner, Cowboy Culture, could be interesting. Cowboy Culture is the number 8 horse in here. I thought the horse to beat was number 3, Gorgeous Kitten, and that's in the Ramsey colors in the back. And you saw Gorgeous Kitten thought to swing wide, and then the jockey went back. And at that point, I thought, oh, Gorgeous Kitten just doesn't have enough today. You know, he didn't think he had enough to get by. Gorgeous Kitten makes a nice late run to get up to run second. A well-beaten second, however. It is Cowboy Culture for Brad Cox. And Cox said afterwards that the game plan will be to keep him away from the probably better, in my estimation, 3-year-old turfer in his barn, Arklow. But he's got a couple of nice grass 3-year-olds now. And I think Cowboy Culture in career start number 6, career win number 4 this past weekend proved that he's a player in this division.
Yeah, and look, he's co-owned by the head of Plains Partners. You know, Sal Coleman and his group has a ton of turfers with Chad Brown. So there's going to be some separation anxiety, if you will, in keeping this horse away from some of the owner's horses and horses like Arklow and the trainer, Brad Cox. So, but there's money to be made in this 3-year-old turf division, as you talked about, in different places you can go. And look, if you run well here at Arlington, you got the Secretariat coming up. If Arklow doesn't go to that, maybe the Hall of Fame at Saratoga. If Chad doesn't have one in there, you've got races, at some places around the Mid-Atlantic even. You know, Penn National's got a good 3-year-old turf race now. There are some places to run, but the calendar will kind of limit those 3-year-old turf spots where you can go and where you can separate each other. But Cowboy Culture, big wake up here. You know, he was out running Transylvania, out running the Palm Beach, but anytime you win a turf race by 5 3/4, you're doing something right there. He really put this field away.
Yeah, went off as the 5-2 favorite and got it done. As I say, Gorgeous Kitten, nice second after at the top of the stretch looking not to have much. So that horse would intrigue me next time as well. I did note, what's it been, 3 or 4 weeks now? Countdown to the Plate has been in addition to Countdown to the Crown?
Yeah.
And
we've been since about mid-April, so I think we're about 5-6 weeks into
okay.
the Plate coverage. Yeah.
I said about a month, 4 weeks or so, but about a month and a half that you've been looking at the Queen's Plate, and there were some races this past weekend that'll play into the Plate, play into the Oaks, and I thought we'd touch on those because this past edition of Countdown to the Plate that came out this past Friday talked about both of these races and gave a little preview. On Sunday, we had the Marine for the 3-year-olds. Now, not all of these were Ontario breds, and as it turned out, the winner was a Florida bred from Live Oak. Super Tappet for Mark Casse, the number 4, will be the winner as the 9-5 favorite. Florent Giraud on board. But running second, number 6, Channel Marker, is an Ontario bred. Malibu Secret runs third in here, also an Ontario bred. What's your takeaway from this race? Nice win by the winner. Mark Casse trained, again, from Live Oak, Super Tappet. But second and third, maybe some potential going forward for the Queen's Plate. What's your takeaway from the Marine?
Yeah, I think this is a really quality group of horses, and Super Tappet, like you talked about, can't run in the Queen's Plate because he's Florida bred, but this is one of those kind of turn-the-corner 3-year-olds now with just 4 career starts. Ran in the Lexington Stakes at Keeneland, which is becoming a productive race. Super Tappet was really highly thought of after that debut win at Fairgrounds back in February. This is one of those second half of the season kind of horses, and I always say necessity is the mother of invention with these horses. Let's say Classic Empire's kind of burn out after the Triple Crown season. You could see Super Tappet become Mark Casse's horse for Saratoga this summer. And, we've seen Frank Stronach go that direction with horses like Austin McGinn, who, ran in Canada and then came down to the States and ran in big things like the Jim Dandy, the Travers, those kind of races. Super Tappet could be in that kind of category. He fight Tappet out of Zoe Impressive. Zoe Impressive was a really nice NYRA and Florida runner in her racing day. So this is a well-bred horse with a lot to look forward to, and I think Super Tappet will be part of that Travers, Haskell kind of timing situation. Look for him later this summer. Channel Maker, the runner-up, ran a really good race for Bill Mott. His spot was clearly second best on this day, and Channel Maker goes on as one of the major favorites for this year's Queen's Plate. I think this is one to keep a big eye on. Malibu Secret, the third-place finisher in here for Malcolm Pierce. This is a horse I had ranked as high as number 2 in my top 10 towards the Queen's Plate coming into this race. A little disappointed in running third, beaten so far by Channel Maker, but this was a pretty good effort for a big step up in class. The horse had some traffic trouble. I think Malibu Secret really moves forward as one to watch in the Queen's Plate. And Mega Gray, the horse who ran fourth. I think you'll see the 2, 3, 4 finishers all back in the Queen's Plate coming up in the first week of July and be contenders. We still have one more big prep for the Queen's Plate, that being the Plate Trial, coming up the weekend of June 11th, the same day as the Woodbine Oaks. Really, the bulk of the field is going to come from the Plate Trial, as well as probably the 2, 3, 4 finishers out of this race, all advance and move forward.
And looking at your top 10 that came out on Friday, King and His Court still on top?
Yeah, and he'll be the horse to beat in the Plate Trial. That's another Mark Casse trainee. He was disappointing a little bit at the beginning of the winter. I thought he would run a little bit more in those Florida starts when he came back, but when he got back against his own kind and got back to Woodbine and over that Topeka surface, he really looked good in winning his first race of the year back at Woodbine a couple weeks ago. So King and His Court's a horse to beat at this point, and they've said all along they really think King and His Court is a 1.25 mile kind of horse, even more than State of Honor, the horse they ran in the Kentucky Derby. And State of Honor is a horse moving forward towards the Queen's Plate that you'll have to consider as well, because he was awfully classy throughout the Florida Derby and the Florida Derby Series, so he's one to respect.
And I will finally mention Super Tappet, again, the winner, not eligible, and goes out for Mark Casse, but running second, the Bill Mott trainee, who may head back up, Queen's Plate, being eligible in Ontario bred, but training right up here in Saratoga. So
and we've seen the Americans have some success come up there. Sir Dudley Diggs came north of the border and won the race. Bobby Frankel's come up to win the Queen's Plate. Todd Fletcher's come up to win the Queen's Plate. So, these horses based in the U.S., if they handle the surface and get a race over the surface, which I think helps in a lot of cases, like Channel Maker was able to do, I think that's a plus and a feather in their cap. And I think the American contingent going to Canada this year looks pretty strong.
All right, and you mentioned the Oaks earlier, and there was an Oaks prep on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. The Lady Angela, $125,000. They're going to go 7 furlongs. The winner here is number 3, Silver Princess. Running second, number 4, Little Christie. And a horse I know you commented on and liked a little bit in the horseplayernow.com preview of this, number 8, Conquest Vivi, as the even money favorite, runs third in here. But give us your thoughts on the Lady Angela and what this bodes for the Oaks going forward.
Well, you got the master, Roger Atfield, training the winner, Silver Princess. And, he's going to take a shot at those Canadian classes if he thinks he's got the right filly. And Silver Princess ran well in here. She kind of ran like distance may be a bit of a problem moving forward, though. She kind of made that big move and then didn't draw away from the field and actually was being gained on by Little Christie, the runner-up, in the end. So, I don't know about the longer distances. You know, the Woodbine Oaks coming up on June 11th, they're going to have to stretch out and run 2 turns. This was a very fast pace, though. But to her credit, Silver Princess battled on that fast pace. Half mile on 45 and 4. The other pace players in here ended up 6th and 7th, respectively, Seth. So anytime a speed horse puts away the other speed, they will. You go on. That's usually a pretty good sign. It'll just be a matter of Silver Princess can get the distance. She's now won 3 out of 5 lifetimes. Pedigree, the pedigree is 7 furlongs to a mile at most by Old Forester out of a Silver Deputy Mare. But again, she's got a shot with Roger Attfield's Master Care, but he's even said she's a temperamental, fussy filly and is hard to rein in. So I don't know about her going long. Conquest Vivi, I expected a little bit more out of this, but at least was running on in the end. And for longer distances, that could set her up well for Mark Casse going towards that Oaks. Again, Sunday, June 11th, the $500,000 Woodbine Oaks. That's where these fillies would like to be pointed toward.
Yeah, and Conquest Vivi with the third had been undefeated in the first 3 starts, all up at Woodbine. They were all last year, and then had a start earlier this year on the turf at Gulfstream and really threw in a dud there. That was back in January. Laid off since then. So do you give her an excuse maybe on the layoff?
Yeah, and she gave a lot of weight. I mean, she carried 123 in here. Silver Princess carried 116. Little Christie 118. So she gave 5 to 7 pounds to the horses who beat her. You know, a lot of times sprinting weight isn't necessarily a huge deal, but it's 7 furlongs. It's tough distance sometimes. And so I'd rather not have the 7 pounds than have them, put it that way. And so Conquest Vivi, off a layoff, first time back this year at Woodbine. And, this was a reasonable prep. I mean, if you look at a prep in a traditional sense, which is an end to a means, or means to an end, I should say, then it was productive. You know, I mean, if you bet her at 6 to 5, you're not very happy she didn't land in the exact, and you expected more out of her. But, I think this race does move her forward towards the Oaks. Of these top 3 fillies in this race, the Lady Angela on Saturday at Woodbine, if you're going to ask me to bet one of them back in the Woodbine Oaks, I would still like Conquest Vivi better than the other 2. Going around 2 turns.
All right, and finally, I wanted to hit on, because again, reading the Countdown to the Crown package this past Friday, you talked a little bit about the Belmont and the Belmont horses and horses going forward, and made mention of Classic Empire, who will make an appearance in all 3 Triple Crown events. And your tone there was kind of a tip of the cap, whether you bet them or not. You have to respect that. I agree. And I mean, we're in the 21st century, and cloud computing is going to bypass, and Always Dreaming is going to bypass. And I looked up, I wasn't sure how long ago, well, it was in the last 10 years, 2007, when Hard Spun and Curlin went through all 3 Triple Crown events. So we were still in this modern era where trainers don't like to run that quickly. And what did it do negatively for Hard Spun and Curlin? Not much. Hard Spun came back and won the King's Bishop a little bit later in the summer. Curlin comes back and wins the Jockey Club and then the Breeders' Cup Classic. So why these trainers do this, it's just become the way things are done in year 2016, 17, and beyond. But again, it was only a few years ago we had horses doing it successfully. So I'm with you. I'm kind of rooting for Classic Empire to run well, but that's going to be the question mark. You had a couple of ding-dong battles. While we talk, I pulled up the Breeders' Cup Juvenile from last year at Santa Anita, and Classic Empire will be the winner to put a stamp on his 2-year-old season and give the promise for the 3-year-old season. The 3-year-old season just hasn't quite lived up to that. 3rd in the Holy Bull to start things off. The nice win in the Arkansas Derby, but then 4th in the Kentucky Derby. A troubled 4th, however, and a ding-dong 2nd in the Preakness. I am sure the Casses would love to put a Classic win on this horse's resume, and he looks like the class of the field. But will he have put in too much in the first 2 races, or do we get something like we've seen in the past with Hard Spun and Hard Spun and Curlin, horses that can go the grind and still run well?
Yeah, they ran well, but they got beat by the filly who was coming off of 5 weeks in a day, the 36-day layoff for Rags to Riches from the Kentucky Oaks. So, you look back and you go to 2000 and you say, okay, let's look in the last 17 years, a little modern history. How many horses have won the Belmont going through all 3 legs of the Triple Crown? Point Given in 2001, Fleet Alex in 2005, and a horse named American Pharoah in 2015. I mean, those are 3 horses, and those are 3 Hall of Fame type horses. Point Given, a Fleet Alex, and American Pharoah. The only 3 horses in the decade, in the new millennium, if you will, since 2000, to have won the Belmont Stakes while competing in all 3 legs of the Triple Crown. So you're going to have to think, if you take a historical direction towards it, you're going to have to think this horse is on that type of level in Classic Empire. He may be. I mean, he was a champion 2-year-old. He was all the rank. He was the number 1 ranked horse in a lot of people's minds coming into the season. So you look at, like, the 2 horses going through the entire Triple Crown this year are Looking at Lee and Classic Empire. You don't hear any Looking at Lee kind of names in that list, right? I mean, when you talk of Fleet Alex, Points Given, American Pharoah, you don't assume, okay, Looking at Lee, he fits into that kind of mold of a horse who can survive all 3 legs of the Triple Crown and win the Belmont Stakes. But when you say Classic Empire, you say, that's plausible. I might be able to make that connection. So he's not out of the running for it. It's going to take a big effort on his part to keep his form over the course of these many weeks. But the one thing is, it's still about matchup, Seth. And when you look at the field that's assembling for this year's Belmont Stakes, there just aren't a lot of, high-quality, super horses moving forward kind of options here. You know, I mean, I don't know where the major threat comes from. Probably a Derby horse laying off and has the time in between, or the Japanese horse, Epicharis. You know, it's there aren't a lot of quality options outside of Classic Empire. So he's going to be a deserving favorite based on resume. If he's not worn down, he'll be the horse to beat.
And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Epicharis is interesting to me, was interesting to me. He would have been interesting in the Derby, maybe if they tried the Preakness. The layoff is intriguing, though, and too much of a puzzle for me. But I thought that UAE Derby was a nice race, just nipped by Thunder Snow, who had the freak out in the Kentucky Derby. But did you see Thunder Snow on the weekend? Ran a pretty good second to, I think, a very talented horse over in Europe in the Irish 2000 Guineas. Churchill beats Thunder Snow.
Yeah, you had to like that at least on the bounce back.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you had to like if you're looking at the Japanese horse towards the Derby and or towards the Belmont Stakes. I'm curious to see how his name's going to be pronounced because I've heard it 3 different ways, and the Japanese translator says Epicharis, Epicharis is what the announcer in Dubai said, and Epicharis is another way I've heard it. So I don't know how we're going to say this horse once they get to the U.S., but I think we're going to consider him a contender, but you got to get fair odds on a horse coming all the way across the world, you know. I mean, he's a 20-to-1 shot minimum to win the Belmont Stakes on fair odds, and I don't think you're going to see 20-to-1.
And do we anticipate Looking at Lee to be the wise guy horse? Because everybody in the Belmont loves to get on the horse that showed some closing punch.
Yeah, that might be. And, of course, Steve won it last year with Creator, you know, a horse who looked awfully similar in style and paper and prep lines. But that was an exception. You know, a horse like Creator winning the Belmont last year is not what you expect. And Creator won it at 16-to-1. So, again, you are looking for a price. Fair odds on Looking at Lee start at probably 16-to-1. I mean, I don't think he's any better horse than Creator was. I think he's pretty similar, and he has a similar kind of challenge in front of him. I mean, I think if you're betting Looking at Lee, you want 16, 18-to-1, and you're probably not getting that either.
And we'll certainly talk more about this next week as the field will firm up and we'll have a pretty good idea how things are going to shake out by the time we talk again next Wednesday. But again, remind people, I mean, we're close enough. People can pop down if they want to stop at Parks for that jockey event. Promo that again.
Yeah, Jockeys and Jeans is the event at Parks this Saturday. It's $40 to attend the Jockeys and Jeans part. It's free admission to the racetrack. But the Jockeys and Jeans includes a free luncheon with the 17 Hall of Famers and the fallen riders who are there, as well as a meet and greet session, an autograph session, and there's also a silent auction. If you go to jockeysandjeans.com, you can take part in that silent auction and bid on some items, even if you're not there. You can make your bid online. So we're looking to raise over $250,000 on Saturday. Doors open at noon on the 3rd floor of the clubhouse at the Parks Racetrack and Casino on Saturday. So we'll be there for that. We're playing Woodbine tonight at horseplayernow.com. Full play along. Brian Nadeau and myself will be doing the live podcast during the entire card tonight, beginning at 6:30 for Woodbine. So a lot of great action and a chance to interact and learn more about the game, not only with the Triple Crown online, but just every night racing. These Wednesday nights now. Woodbine tonight at 6:30 we get started.
Sounds good. Horseplayernow.com. Jeremy Plonk, appreciate the visit. We'll talk next week.
All right, let's talk Belmont next week.
Very good. Jeremy Plonk, horseplayernow.com, leads us into our next break. When we come back, Again, slim pickings today race-wise, but we'll give you some ideas on Indiana Grand for Wednesday afternoon. Also, a little recap of the two nice stakes they had midweek last week. All of that with Nancy Holthus right after this. Stay tuned.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Now get all the racing information you need right on your mobile device with Capital OTB's new mobile app. Wager anytime, anywhere, right from your smartphone or tablet. Watch, wager, and win right at your fingertips. The new Capital OTB mobile app.
And Frosted is coming with giant strides on the far outside. Here comes Honor Code. Here's a layer. Honor Code looked like he got him in the last stride. American Pharoah has lost the lead at the top of the stretch. Keen Ice has got him. Keen Ice has won the Travers. Runs at him with 1 furlong to run. They've left flat out behind. Fort Larned digs in. Mucho Macho Man runs at him. Fort Larned, Mucho Macho Man. Fort Larned with the heart of a champion.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Wednesday morning. Wednesday means a visit from the rotation out at Indiana Grand. And hey, it's our friend Nancy Holthus. Haven't talked to her since Oaklawn. Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning. Thanks again for having me.
Always happy to have you. And again, we haven't talked to you since Oaklawn, but you're now in the Indiana Grand rotation, which has been with us for about 3 weeks now. Let me start out by asking, is there some excitement today out at Indiana? Because I said a couple of times already, it is slim pickings today, but you guys are going to be on the center of the radar screen of horse players.
Well, it is a fantastic card. I was going through it a little bit earlier, and there's some really great racing, some good turf racing, to be more specific. And I tell you what, when I look at the pools that they post after turf races, my eyes kind of do the pop out of your head Google, with the cartoon, because I tell you what, simulcast is just on fire this meet, especially for the turf.
Yeah, and last week, and we'll hit on that in a couple of minutes, a couple of midweek stakes. Those are always fun, but I think the handle will be even more eye-popping today, where, as I say, it's really quiet after the holiday weekend, so you guys are going to be front and center, and it is always good racing. Before we get into, I want to hit on those two stakes from last week and today as well, but before we do that, haven't talked to you in a while. Give us some of your impressions, Kentucky Derby and Preakness.
Well, I was ecstatic to see Oaklawn so well represented in the Kentucky Derby, and I loved looking at Lee going into Derby. And it was funny, I was on the backside that Thursday prior to Derby and went to Steve Asmussen's barn, and he was in an unbelievably and kind of an uncharacteristic chipper mood, very chatty. And I wasn't there for media purposes. I was just there seeing some friends, and he was so gung-ho about looking at Lee. So that made me kind of confident, and I was just so ecstatic to see how well that, not only that horse ran, but I was, kind of bummed to see the trip that Classic Empire got, but I still think he ran a phenomenal race considering. And going into the Preakness, I told my husband, I said, I think Always Dreaming is the best he's going to run is fourth. Just because you don't see many Pletcher horses of that caliber run back in a 2-week time span. It was still a great effort considering, but I was glad to see, maybe some other horses get a little bit of attention, but I tell you what, some really good, solid horses. And Chad Brown, I tell you what, he's definitely future Hall of Famer stamp on him.
Yeah, no question about it, and big win for them. Preakness Day, big win for Todd on Derby Day. Nice way to get through the first couple and week and a half away Belmont Stakes. But I'm also always curious around the country, the various venues. Nice days at Indiana Grand watching Derby and Preakness simulcast?
It was. We had a huge crowd on Derby Day, and the parking lot at Indiana Grand is massive, not only for the track, but because we duel with the casino. But it was standing room only for the Derby, and we had a lot of activities going on as well. Not quite as much for Preakness Day, but still a really good crowd. But I do anticipate a good crowd for Belmont as well.
Yeah, it seems like the venues around the country always do well on these big days, and Derby Day clearly the highlight of that. And I'll ask you, because you're somebody, public handicapper, and you watch the odds and whatnot, did you smile as much as virtually every other public handicapper when you looked at? And to me, this just bodes well. It says a lot about the mainstream media and how important it is, and we have to get more of it. But when you looked at the odds on Patch, clearly the Today Show appearance and whatnot was affected. There was a sentimental factor there that was completely out of touch with his actual chances.
I thought that was awesome, because what I think is kind of really cool nowadays that, popular horses get their own social media, they get their own following, and, big horse racing groups have just racked their heads for years how to get people involved. Well, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
The Today Show has stumped them yet again. So I think it's great that, it's a horse that they can follow. It's a great story, and I just think it's so ironic that he was named that way before he lost the eye. So, be careful what you name your horse.
Yeah, it was certainly interesting, and as they say, I think a barometer of what the mainstream media can do. All right, let's go back to last Wednesday, because again, you had a couple of nice midweek stakes out there at Indiana Grand, and just wanted to recap those. We talked a little bit about Peter Lorre in preview. Now we'll do a little review. The Swiftly Sired Stakes last Wednesday, 6 furlongs for the 3-year-old fillies. And as we looked at this race last week, it looked like it went through number 10, Defining Hope, who last season at Indiana was very successful. Shipped down and took a shot at an open stake at Tampa in December. Didn't do so well there, but on the seasonal debut, the comeback earlier in May, had run a decent second and just looked to be the one to beat. And sure enough, last Wednesday, number 10, Defining Hope, gets it done. Chart margin of just under 10 lengths as the 4-5 favorite.
Yeah, she was just a standout, not only on paper, but on the track as well. They gave her third stakes win. Barbara McBride, her conditioner, kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start. The barn really starting to come around now. Barb had a training double just the other day, and Defining Hope was just spectacular in fashion. So really glad to see this nice filly, make a solid return like that back to the winner's circle.
And again, it was for state breds, but given what she did, this is a horse that has open company in the future, you would think.
I would think so, especially with that win under her belt.
Yeah. Also on the card last Wednesday, the Sagamore. This was for the boys, going 6 furlongs, $100,000 up for grabs. Similar situation. The favorite on paper and when the betting was done was number 6, Ron. Even money favorite, gets it done. Chart margin of 1.5. But a little upset underneath for the exact. It's number 8, Leo D at 44-1. But Ron, again, gets it done as the favorite in the second of the 2 stakes last Wednesday.
Yeah, Ron, really impressive. Owned and trained by Marvin Johnson, and he was very solid. Second stakes win in his career. But, you mentioned Leo D, a maiden for Grant Forster, who brought this one, and if memory serves, I think he's a first-time starter. So, getting stakes place at black type right out of the box, I think he is going to be a definite one to look out for.
Yeah, it was an intriguing couple of stakes there. Midweek last Wednesday. As I say, this Wednesday, there is not a lot on the racing calendar, so folks can focus on Indiana Grand, a good card, and we'll take a look at a couple of the races for this Wednesday afternoon. First, update us on your weather.
Well, it's a gorgeous day. I think the high is about 79, and it's always windy here. So a lot of times I tweet, I'd hate to be a jockey today because there's going to be a 25-mile-an-hour headwind. That's usually once every 4 race days. So, but it's an absolutely gorgeous day. I think they're predicting rain later in the weekend, but it's quarter horses this Saturday night, strictly quarter horses this Saturday night. So I've got the night off, so it's all good for me.
I was going to say, do you handicap the quarter horses?
No, I do not.
Yeah.
That is it's 400 yards. What is there to handicap? It's a lot harder for me to do quarter horses than it is a Grade 1 stake.
Yeah, you cross your fingers, you get a good break. But that's
exactly.
The one thing.
It's all in the break.
I kind of started up the road here when I first got into the game at the harness track at Saratoga, so I can handicap the harness. And my dad, for years before he passed away, was retired down in Florida, and so I used to go to the dog track, and I can do that. Quarter horses, I'm clueless. It is. You just hope your horse gets out of the gate.
Yeah, and you have to. When I was down at Los Al working for TVG, they put in the headwind, the tailwind, the crosswind, and I was just like, does that really take an accountability? So yeah, it's too much info for me. So yeah.
But Saturday in Indiana. But in the meantime, we have the thoroughbreds today, and we'll kick things off on the grass. Race number 5, 14 to 16 claimers. They're on the grass at a mile. What are you thinking, race number 5?
Well, obviously the main track onlys are scratched, but there are 3 standouts in this particular field. First off, the number 2, Madaket Millie from the barn of Tim Glyshaw, taking a significant drop after a respectable third against first-level allowance runners, optional 25. Wasn't for the 25 that day. Did go the mile on the grass. And Marcelina Pedroza, I honestly think, is one of the better turf riders up here. And all 3 wins for her have come on the turf. Also, a Chicago Invader, that is Brew Mistress, the number 4, Moses Yanez, making his first start of the Indiana Grand Meet with kind of the abbreviated, I'll say, Chicago meeting, them just racing a couple days a week. I think we might start seeing a few more of those Chicago horses come in. This is a turf specialist. 46 lifetime starts out of 62 have been on the grass, and 8 of her 9 wins. And she comes off back-to-back wins at Tampa on the grass at the $16,000 level. So I really am looking forward to seeing this 8-year-old come make her Indiana Grand debut. Also the horse to her outside, Candy Pop, Marvin Johnson, owned and trained, taking a big drop, just faced 2 other than optional 40, set the pace and wound up second, but that was taken off the turf that day, run over the slop. Does have some back turf class, but hasn't raced on the turf in quite a while, so I'm very interested to see her be able to run back on the grass today.
And as I'm looking at the jockey on Roman, isn't that the kid who got off to the good start of the career down at Oaklawn maybe 4 years ago?
Yes. Yeah, he was up in Chicago for quite a while. He did really well up in the Chicago circuit, and he's getting off to a really decent start here.
Yeah, it's a nice jockey colony. Deshaun Parker in there as well, riding, and you mentioned a couple of the others. All right, let's move on to race number 8, optional claimer, 30 tags, non-winners of 1 other than the condition. Again, in race number 8, it's a mile on the grass.
Yeah, we did have a scratch in the body in addition to the main track onlys of the number 5, Handfuls Baby Girl. It's a 30 to 1. I think there's a true standout in here, an 8 to 1 shot, the number 4, Cha Cha Magic. Interesting to note that Phil Sims has run 3 here and has had 2 winners. They've both come on the grass. This horse just broke her maiden over the Indiana turf. This is one of them by 5.5 lengths. So it got a very, very nice 80 buyer. I don't know how many times you're going to see an 80 buyer at Indiana breaking the maiden. So it was done at a mile and a 16th. She shortens up just a little bit today. She definitely off of that race looks like she's by far ready to take on winners. But there's another very interesting entry in here, the 2 and the 2B from the barn of Vicky Oliver. The plain 2, youngest daughter, well overmatched last out at Churchill Downs, comes back into face allowance company. She did break her maiden 2 back at Keeneland. Maiden special, came from off the pace, nice closer in the stretch with Javier Castellano. So youngest daughter, Tyler Pizarro, in to ride. And also the number 6, Rum Go, again, Marcelina Pedroza for Brad Cox, first time for the barn, and graded stakes placed as a 2-year-old in the Grade 3 Jessamine at Keeneland. So some really, really nice turf horses set to go for the 8 at Indy Grand.
Graded stakes placed behind La Coronel to boot.
Yeah, exactly. And went off at 84-1. So to get a piece of the pie out of that's pretty respectable out of a 12-horse field.
Nice race there on a nice card at Indiana Grand. Nancy, we appreciate the visit and the conversation, having you back in the mix up at Indiana Grand. Good luck this afternoon. We'll talk again down the road.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a good weekend.
Nancy Holthus from Indiana Grand. A little bit earlier, Jeremy Plonk, horseplayernow.com, and much more. Let me run over those promos one more time here at Capital OTB. Bet 50, get 50 continues, but again, it's a monthly thing, so you may want to wait until tomorrow to sign up for the June version, and then you'll have all of June to bet your $50 in. But do keep that in mind. Bet 50, get 50 for new account holders here at Capital OTB. Mobile app on your mobile device. Go to iTunes or the Google Play store to pick up the Capital OTB mobile app. Fan Appreciation Day out at Del Mar on Friday. If you're a patron there, swing on by at about noontime and give us our chance to say thank you to you for your patronage. And here at the Clubhouse Racebook on Sunday, it's the Exacta Board promotion. It's essentially kind of the same way the squares work on football games, but with the numbers being exactas, and you have chances, multiple chances during the afternoon to win vouchers on the Exacta Board. That's this Sunday here at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Thanks to our friends at Woodbine for their sponsorship. Woodbine, pick, bet, and cheer on great racing north of the border. I want to thank them for their sponsorship. All right, I'm going to wrap things up for the Wednesday edition of Racing Across America as we wrap up May. By the time I arrive tomorrow, we will be into June. Summer right around the corner. Belmont Stakes 9-10 days away. Right after that, we start counting down to Saratoga. We are in the thick of late spring, summer racing, and we'll continue conversation on that over the next couple of days as we are here every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 10 until 11 a.m. So enjoy the races this afternoon. Cash a few tickets. See you right back here tomorrow morning.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.